Episode 18 of ECW CyberSlam begins with a video package looking back at CM Punk's road to the ECW Television Championship. Beating Xavier and then Sonny Siaki in the first two rounds, Punk went into a ladder match with Homicide last week. Early in the night, Homicide's hustle teammates had been taken out by the members of the locker room who stand against them, ensuring a fair one-on-one fight in the main event. CM Punk and Homicide went to war, with the decisive moment CM Punk sent Homicide down from the top of the ladder through a stack of tables on the outside. CM Punk was left unopposed in the ring and unhooked the title. Celebrating his victory, CM Punk was joined by the aforementioned members of the ECW locker room who applauded the new ECW Television Champion. Out of the video package, CM Punk comes down to the ring, the title over his shoulder, beginning a very good C+ 68 rated segment. He puts over his victory last week, but is cut short when Rob Van Dam comes down to the ring. The two champions of ECW shake hands, with Rob Van Dam putting over his legendary run with the Television Championship back in the original ECW and congratulating CM Punk on his win. The two then have a back and forth, which leads to them teasing a champion v champion match potentially down the line. As the two consider that proposition, Paul Heyman comes out from the back. He's joined by two of his personal security team. He tries to take credit for those two men in the ring being champions, saying that this is exactly what he wanted from the both of them. The fire, the aggression, the determination that they have shown in recent weeks, that's down to him. He tries to put over that screwing them over for the past 8 weeks was done to help them, sort of backtracking, but the two really don't buy it. He says that he lit the fire in them, and he'll do it again tonight. Heyman announces RVD and Sabu against Stevie Richards and C.W. Anderson in the main event, and CM Punk, the television champion, will be in the corner of Rob Van Dam, the world champion, for that match. So good improvisation from Rob Van Dam and Paul Heyman, CM Punk seemingly holding his own, and a good segment to kick off the show. The commentators then sent to footage that was got earlier tonight, Homicide seen arriving at the building alone a week after his defeat to CM Punk. Homicide was clearly carrying an injury, having been thrown from that great height, and looked to be in an incredibly irritable mood. He was greeted by Paul Heyman, but had a clear message for the man behind the hustle. Homicide told Heyman that he needs better. He needs Xavier and Siaki to be better, he needs Low-Ki to be better, and he needs more support from Paul Heyman. Homicide then stormed off, Heyman taken back by the attitude of a man who he has backed from day one of ECW's return, and somebody who he has openly assisted in recent months. Returning to the commentators, they wonder if this incident was behind Paul Heyman's apparent backtracking in the opening segment. In what's described as an extremely short match, but it does go 5 minutes and 28, Kevin Furtig defeats Little Guido with a chokeslam. Again, Furtig taking delight in torturing his opponent, making the match go longer than it needed to be. A 41D rating is okay. Furtig with a 36, Guido with another decent 53. Furtig and Shelly Martinez have good chemistry, that's good to see, and she did some good work at ringside. After the match, not such a good segment, but adding another body to the pile, Kevin Furtig looked to continue the beatdown of Little Guido, dragging him back to his feet. Swinger and Dorin have felt his wrath recently and wanted nothing to do with that, but Roadkill seemed up for testing himself against the huge Kevin Furtig. Roadkill steamed down to the ring looking fired up, only for Shelly Martinez to come between him and Kevin Furtig. Kevin wanted to get his hands on Roadkill, Roadkill wanted to get his hands on Kevin, but Shelly Martinez led her man out of the ring and up the ramp. As Furtig and Martinez left, Roadkill checked on Little Guido in the ring. We then get a backstage segment. Danny Doring has approached the chief of ECW, asking him if he just saw the fire that Roadkill showed. That's what Paul Heyman wants, right? Paul Heyman asks Doring to get to the point, and Doring says, since we have a world champion and a TV champion, where are the ECW Tag Team Championships? Him and Roadkill were the last champions before ECW folded, and they still have those old titles. He suggests that Paul Heyman brings them back, and they can start defending their titles from next week. To his credit, Paul Heyman does hear Doring out and tells him to leave it with him. Doring seems happy with this and walks off. We then get the second match of the night, a convincing victory for Low-Ki over Balls Mahoney in 7 minutes and 20 with the Warriors Way. Noted there was nobody at ringside. It was a straight, fair one-on-one match, and Low-Ki came out with a victory and a good performance, a 59. Balls Mahoney with a 34. After the match, Homicide came down to the ring, getting in Low-Ki's face and holding his head to Keys. He told him that is what they need, that is how it's done. He then tapped on the side of Low-Ki's head, telling him to keep up this level of focus at all times. Homicide then turned to the stage and called out Sonny Siaki and Xavier. The two knew what was coming and tried to reason with Homicide before they got to the ring, only to receive a slap in the face from the leader of the hustle. Xavier wanted to give it back to Homicide, but Siaki held him back, trying to calm him down. The mouthpiece then told Xavier and Siaki that they needed to step up and they needed to prove why he chose them to join the Hustle in the first place. He'd spoken to Paul Heyman, and if they didn't improve, it wouldn't just be their place in the Hustle on the line, but their place in ECW. Homicide then left the ring, having publicly humiliated Xavier and Sonny Siaki. They followed behind him as he headed up the ramp. We then get a pre-recorded promo from Tommy Dreamer and Brent Albright. They promote their match next week with Johnny Swinger and Elijah Burke. Tommy does most of the talking, commenting on how the two treated Al Snow recently, as well as Swinger's women troubles with Shelly Martinez. Dreamer also put over his partner, the Shooter, who he claimed can pull anybody's shoulder out of its socket whenever the hell he feels like it. Dreamer says that he's glad to be his partner and not his opponent. Brent Albright then adds his piece to the end of the promo, saying that he couldn't wait to return to the ring next week and make Elijah Burke or Johnny Swinger tap out to the crowbar. Brent Albright improvising poorly. I did mean to script this segment, I think. Both of them struggling, so it wasn't a very good segment. We then head over to a segment in front of the ECW backdrop, Jade introducing herself to the ECW audience, having debuted last week as the interviewer. She says that she is delighted to be on board and she has received her first assignment. She talks about the recent issues that Al Snow has gone through and notes that nobody has heard from him since he lost to Elijah Burke. This week, she begins the search as she asks, "Where is Al Snow?" Going into the main event, a very good match, a 69C+. Not quite as good as CM Punk v Homicide last week, but another good match, a 83 from Rob Van Dam. Sabu 79, two huge performances there. CW Anderson was the weak link, struggling to keep up. It was a fairly decisive victory in the end. Steve Corino tried to get involved, but of course CM Punk was at ringside with RVD. He quashed any attempts for them to get an underhanded advantage. RVD hitting a 5-star frog splash to CW Anderson to pick up the victory. After the match, CM Punk joined RVD and Sabu in the ring, staring down the Extreme Horsemen as they backed up the ramp. CM Punk and Rob Van Dam both held their championships, while Sabu picked up a steel chair that had been used during the match. CyberSlam ended with Steve Corino leading his men to the back, as RVD, Sabu and CM Punk stood tall in the ring. So a 63C rating, that's another good episode. I think that's either the second or third best episode we've done so far. It has to be said, it wasn't a particularly noteworthy episode. There's some development with Homicide and RVD and Sabu picking up an important victory, but really the idea here was just to keep things ticking over. We've teased a potential Punk RVD match in the future, Heyman seemingly backtracking on the clear biases that he's shown, but other than that, it was more an episode to establish things for future episodes rather than big things happening on the show. Next week, Brent Albright and Tommy Dreamer team against Elijah Burke and Johnny Swinger, and also confirmed after the show, CM Punk versus Steve Corino for the ECW Television Championship.